Hey, g'day people, it's Matt here from Matt Carve. So today we're going to have a look at the 3M mask. I'm going to talk about when to change the filters, how to do a leak test around the edge and see how how it fits your face. And I'm just going to talk generally about it. And I'm going to preface this with, this is only my opinion. If you want more information about the 3M mask, you should always go and consult the 3M website and all of that kind of stuff. But this is what I find on a general day-to-day basis. So when should you change the filters on your mask? So essentially on manufacturer's website, it says when it becomes difficult to breathe through them, which kind of makes sense. But I think you've got to be aware that it's not essentially really easy to breathe through them anyway. So take notice when you first get it, what it's like to breathe through. You have it up and you can breathe through it. But once they start getting a little bit more dirty, you're going to be maybe finding it a little bit more difficult to breathe through them, and that's probably about time to change them. You know, it's really hard to give a time on when you should be changing it. You can't really say every 3 months, because unless you're doing the same thing every day, because sometimes you're doing a really dusty job one day and you might be not doing a a dusty kind of thing the next day. So it's more on how you breathe through the actual mask itself. What I've got here is an old mask. You can see the new one and the old one. I'm going to cut it open actually, and I'm going to show you inside the mask itself. Okay, so here we go. We've got the filter here, and it looks quite clean there, which you kind of hope it would be because that's what you're breathing. I'm going to give this a go with tin snips, maybe. Oh yeah, that's cutting through it. I'm going to go straight through the middle. And here we go, we have cut it in half. Now you've got to remember your dust mask is your first line of defense against dust. You should always be wearing one when you're producing dust, or when you've been using a machine and the dust is still in the air. So you can see that first layer is a little bit dusty there. And the American standard, the NIOSH rated P100 filters take out 99.97% of dust, and that's down to 0.3 microns, so it's really, really good. And microns are, well, incredibly small. There's 1,000 microns in a millimeter. And the human eye can only really see down to 50 to 60 kind of microns, and a hair is 100 microns. That kind of gives you an idea of how small these things are. So dust particles 10 microns or below are considered the most hazardous. So in reality, you're not even going to see the most hazardous dust particles that are going to be causing you problems in the long run. So just be aware of that. And what I never do, as well as I will never use an air compressor to blow out the dust mask, because what you could do is you could damage the layers, but you could also blow the dust into the mask, and so essentially you're going to be taking a big shot of dust particles in your next breath. So it's probably more redundant than anything. Okay, so I've just realized that I've been using the word mask when I should have been using filter. So just be aware of that. When we're looking at the mask, we have got the size on here. Now I'm large. I don't look like I've got a large head, but I have. I've got quite a big nose. And when I went into, I would always recommend buying these at a safety shop, because the safety shops they sell these things all the time, and they'll just look at you and they'll go, look, you've got a small face, so get a small one. Whereas you can risk it and go on Amazon and buy them off there if you want. That's cool. I'm not actually going to leave affiliate links for any of these, because I'd rather actually you go into a safety shop and get yourself sorted, because otherwise sometimes you'll find you'll buy a mask and it won't fit. But if you're forced into buying it online, I would probably look up the 3M site, because I believe they have a measurement system. But I just found the people at the safety shop very, very helpful when I was buying it. Now, this is the 3M mask, as you can see there. That is the product number, and what I always go for is the NIOSH rated P100 filters. And you might find in your country, if you're outside the US, that maybe the rating system is slightly different. I know we have a slightly different rating system in New Zealand. It sort of says P1, 2 and 3, but these are kind of like imported, and I'm just going to go by the NIOSH P100 rating. There are also P95 rated masks, but I would just recommend getting the P100. The 95 takes out 95% of dust. And the great thing about these kind of masks, the 3M masks, is you can swap out the filters for these kind of cartridges, and these cartridges have like carbon in them, or charcoal I should say, and they will filter out organic vapors. So I use these when I am like spray painting or using polyurethane, sort of like those stinky chemical kind of smells. And they all kind of like, you got to look at the numbers and the sides of these things, and they all sort of like correspond to different things. In the sort of catalog or in the safety shop, just tell them what you're going to do and they will put you in the right direction. So I keep these ones in a plastic bag. I think they just have a shelf life of 6 months. Don't quote me on that, but like once you sort of take them out of the original packet, they last for 6 months. Or if you use them a lot and you can start smelling the vapors through the mask, that's when you want to change them. But I keep them in the plastic bag that I showed you before, just so they don't carry on absorbing the stuff that's in the air, so it kind of keeps them a little bit fresher. So they just clip on like that. Okay, so when it comes to a leak test, what we're doing is we're just testing if the seal is connecting to your face very well. And if you've got a big beard, it's really not going to work because there's always going to be sort of a gap in between the mask and your face. I just kind of got a bit of a goatee thing happening, just so it sort of like fits in the mask. And so you should be clean shaven. So essentially what you do is you put the mask on. I'll take my glasses off. And you might want to like tighten it up a little bit. Yeah, I sort of like want it tight, but not too tight. I'm actually waiting on another headband of these because this one has broken, but I have had it for like years and years, so they don't break easily. Okay, so essentially what you do is you hold it in, so essentially you can't sort of like breathe, and you breathe in, and so you sort of like, it's so hard to explain when you talk when you've got this thing on. So essentially what you're doing is you're blocking these holes here, so you shouldn't be able to breathe. And so I'll do it without these on, so you can sort of see. Now usually I've got this thing on, right? So I'm blocking those holes and breathing in, and you can sort of see this sort of like collapsing. If you've got a leak, say like I'll just put my finger up here. You can sort of detect the leak, if you get what I mean. And I've been talking about the 3M mask today, but there are other brands out there. What you really want to look for is that it's NIOSH approved, or approval in your country. And I like the masks that have the exhaust vent that is pointed down at the front. I find those sort of like don't fog up your glasses so easily. So until next time, I hope you all have a great day and you make something creative today and don't suck in too much dust. Okay, bye everybody.